Hey, what's happening? This is Warner Miller. So real quick, so I had something that had happened to me. Had an experience last week that, yeah, man, it taught me something or reminded me of something. And honestly, I had no intention of sharing it. Certainly not, sending a video or anything like that. But within the time of this experience and now I've gotten into several conversations where this thing has been brought up. It has kind of helped people, or at least, kind of give a perspective on things. Look, it helped me, so I'm hoping that in some ways you are blessed by it. So before I tell you the experience, just a little bit of history, right? World War II. I know that's mad random. It just rocked me. So in World War II, and you'll see why this connects. In World War II, our allies, and by I mean the U.S. Were fighting alongside France and UK and I think some others. But anyway, our allies came up with a strategy to bring down some of the defenses of certain, I guess, enemy outposts. Right. I learned this a little while ago. What they would do is they would fly. Our allies would fly over the enemy, I guess, stomping ground, wherever that was. And what they would do is they would push out of the airplane. Our allies would push out of the airplane these rubber dummies, right? They would be like these like mannequin type things that they would fasten parachutes to. I know this sounds funny, but they would fasten parachutes to them and push them out, and open the parachute, right? So it looked like real life people, parachuting down on the enemy, I guess, land, right? Not only did they fasten parachutes to these mannequins, but they also tied firecrackers to their, I guess, bodies, to their bodies, so that once they hit the ground, these firecrackers would like start popping off, right? So it would look like, these mannequins are shooting, right? I know it sounds ridiculous, but it actually worked because what happened was the enemy, like the Germans or Japanese or Italians, whoever was the whatever enemy outpost was being, I guess, attacked. They believed that those people were real, so they would be shooting at them. They'd be shooting at them, and they would be expending like a large amount of like their ammunition, their energy and time to shooting these rubber dummies. Meanwhile, at the real battles, or the real, I guess, places that the Allies wanted to take over, there were little to no people there. They would attack these places, and because there were little to no people there, they would pretty much take it over relatively easily. Why? Because the enemies were attacking and were expending large amount of ammunition on these rubber dummies, these not real things, these distractions, I guess. Right. Okay. Fast forward to the personal story, the experience. So last week I had a doctor's appointment in Manhattan. I'm in Brooklyn, and I had to go see this ear doctor to take care of some ear stuff. All good, nothing's wrong, thank God. So I decided that I'm going to bike up to Manhattan. Now the doctor's office is on the Upper East Side, 93rd Street and Park Avenue. For those of you that don't know Manhattan, that's a bit of a way. That's a bit of a way. But it was a nice day. I biked long distances before, and it was good exercise. So boom, I do it. The bike up there, the ride up there was great. The weather was great, all that stuff. My legs were feeling it, especially my thighs and my butt. It was feeling it. Pause. But but I did it. I did it. Now, so now I go to the doctor. Now I'm on my way back. So I'm on my way back. Legs are burning. I'm tired. I didn't really eat, because I wanted to get to this doctor's appointment and come back. So by the time I got to the Williamsburg Bridge, which is the bridge, which is one of the bridges that connect Manhattan and Brooklyn. By the time I got to there, oh man, like I was feeling it like crazy. But I'm still gonna go. So I approached the bridge. I'm about to go on. Now, I guess because I was like tired and my legs were, feeling it, I may have drifted. Well, no, I did. I drifted over to the left side. There are lanes, there are bike lanes on the bridge, and for coming and going, and I drifted over into the left lane without knowing it. So all of a sudden, I hear whoa, 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 and I look to my left, and there's a white dude on the bike. Now, I bring up this race because it's important to the story, right? So I hear whoa, 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 and I look around, and it's this white dude. So I say, hey man, listen, if you need to go past, just say, on your right, on your left. Anyone that bikes, especially like in the city or jogs, wherever, as a courtesy, when you're trying to get around somebody, you say on your left, on your right, for in order so that they know that you're coming. Basically, it's very simple. So I said, listen, look, if you're trying to get by, just say on your left, on your right. And he responds, no, you should have stayed in your lane. Or he said something like that, stay in your lane, something like that. And he zips off, right? Now, y'all, I don't know if it's because I was tired, or it's because your boy was hungry and not in my right mind, or maybe he pricked my pride a little bit, and I was like, no, you ain't talking. Or maybe, and quite honestly, because of the times we're living in, everyone is kind of on edge a little bit, especially, this white, black, the racial turmoil that is happening in our country. Maybe I was just in my revolutionary feels, or maybe it was all of them, all of the above. In any event, remember how I told y'all I was tired? I don't know if I must have summoned some Super Saiyan energy, and y'all, I followed him. I started following him. I'm not proud of it, but I did. I started following him. And I got so close, like my front tire was like this close to his back tire. Like I was on him. And the reason why I was following him is, I wanted him to be I wanted to intimidate him. And I wanted to, oh, I didn't tell you this part. Before, as he skated off, as he rode off, I yelled. I was like, yo, why don't you say that to my face? I said, why don't you say that to my face? And then after that, I was like, because he didn't turn around, he acknowledged it, I just kept going. So, I'm following him. We're on the bridge. I'm not saying anything, but I don't even know if he knew I was behind him. I mean, I don't see how he couldn't have known, but maybe he didn't, because I wasn't saying anything. But I was like, yo, as soon as I pull on the side, because I was waiting until we got to the other side of the bridge, and then I would pull up to the side of him and be like, yo, what's happening, what's up, what you want. So we come to the other end of the bridge. Now all the time I'm riding on the bridge, y'all, in my mind I'm like, Warner, what are you doing? Warner, come on, what are you doing? Let it go. What are you doing? It's like, nope. He need to hear this. He need to hear this. So we get to the other side of the bridge. Just as I'm about to pull onto the side of him, y'all, again, this is the oncoming lane. I'm pulling to the side, and I almost crash into somebody else. Now this dude had some very colorful language that I won't share right here, but he told me about myself. And y'all, to show you how out of my mind I was thinking, I was ready to follow him too. He wasn't white, he was a maybe Hispanic brother, but I was ready to follow him too. I was so just not in my right mind, right? Anyway, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm gonna go after this guy right here. So I finally pull up to the side of him, and he gets stopped at a light, and I pull up to the side of him. And I have on my mask, and I pull down my mask, and I say, yo, is there something you want to say to me? Anything else you got to say to me? And y'all, I'm looking in his eyes, and I can see that this dude is scared. And I know some of you be like, yeah, oh, that's Warner, oh, yeah. Y'all, I was so ashamed of myself. Now, I didn't let him see that, but inside, again, I'm like, Warner, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I say, yo, is there anything you got to say? And he's like, no, there's nothing I have to say. And I said, you sure? I got real Brooklyn. I said, you sure? And he's like, yeah, no, nothing. And like I said, I could tell he's scared. You know what I'm saying? Like, he don't know me from, all he sees is this dude. And I know he didn't expect that same dude he said that to be pulling up on him right now. I know he didn't expect that. So anyway, now I'm feeling like real bad. I'm feeling ashamed, and I ride off, and I say something stupid. I say, next time watch your mouth because you may not get somebody as nice as me next time. Some foolishness like that, and I bike off. And at this point, like I said, I'm so ashamed. I'm so embarrassed of myself. Why? Well, one, this dude doesn't know me. He doesn't know that I'm a Christian. He doesn't know that I'm a Jesus follower. He doesn't know that I do videos like this. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't know that, I, preach sometimes on Sundays, or, try to introduce people to Jesus and all these stuff, and peace, 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 and love. He doesn't know any of that about me, right? But I do. I know that I'm a Jesus follower, right? And more importantly, God knows that I'm a Jesus follower. And nothing about my actions was reflective of the God that I claimed to follow. And I was ashamed of that. I misrepresented my God. He may never know me or see me again or know that I'm a Christian. That's not the point. The point is I know. And God knows. And I misrepresented my Father. I misrepresented the God I know. So that's one. The second thing was this. I started to think of, no. The second thing is, I was so preoccupied by following this dude that I was so preoccupied with following this dude and exacting this revenge on this guy that I almost crashed into somebody else. I had tunnel vision on this one thing that I endangered someone else's life. I endangered my own. You know what I'm saying? I was so blinded by rage and the need for justice that I almost crashed into somebody else. Upon that, on the ride home, I started thinking about a lot of you guys. Whoever's listening to this, the youth that I have the pleasure and opportunity to pour into. I also started thinking about the thousands of professing Christians, Jesus followers in this country and around the world, but especially this country, that are so consumed, and rightly so consumed with fighting for justice and fighting against racism. And myself, I include myself in that. That we are so consumed with that we are forgetting about the main thing. The main thing being loving God and loving people. We have become like I was on that bridge and are so consumed with getting this right here that we're forgetting the main thing right here. It got me wondering, I wonder if when all is said and done and we stand before God, I wonder whether that moment is going to be painful when it's revealed that much of our time, where the time that we expended doing certain things, whether or not it was wasted, whether or not we were shooting those rubber dummies, blinded by our rage, whether righteous or unrighteous, how much energy and soul of mind we expended on distracting issues. Not that justice is a distracting issue, because it isn't, and that's where we're gonna go next. But we're so distracted on this thing that we're forgetting, and we're being diminished because we're not doing the main thing. So, want to give you just a couple verses real quick. One is Micah 6:8. If you're Christian and you're into justice, which you should be, and we'll get on that in a second. I know you know these verses, but let me just. So this is Micah 6:8. It says this: He has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God? This is God speaking to us, to his followers. He says, God, the Lord requires of us that we do justice, that we love kindness, and walk humbly with our God. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. This is the Amplified. It says this. This is God speaking. It says, learn to do good. Seek justice. Correct oppression. Defend the fatherless. Plead or advocate for the rights of the widow in court. Psalm chapter 82 verses 3 and 4 says this, the NIV. It says, defend the weak and the fatherless. Uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Rescue the weak and needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Last one. This is Proverbs chapter 31 verses 8 and 9. And this is the Amplified. It says, open your mouth, or mouth, I said mouth. Open your mouth for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are unfortunate and defenseless. It says, open your mouth. Again, speak up. Judge righteously or fairly and defend the rights or administer justice for the afflicted, poor, and needy. There's a lot that can be unpacked from those verses, but as you can see from those verses, this is the first point. I wanted you to see, because there are more verses that I can pull, but I want you to see that justice and the pursuit of justice matters to God. Social justice is not a separate issue or from the gospel, or a separate issue from, nah, man, justice is a gospel issue. God cares about justice. God cares about justice. So much so, not only does God care about justice, but he also, and this is the main thing I wanted to affirm you by these, if you were ever confused about it, that the Christian, the Jesus follower, is called, is commissioned, is charged, dare I say, commanded to pursue justice. That is a part of being a Christian. To pursue justice, to pursue justice, that the weak and fatherless should be defended, that we should speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. That is a part of the Christian commission, right? However, as with much, or if I can say all things with Christ, as with all the things that Christ commands us to do, it's not just a matter of doing them, but it's also the heart or the motivation by which we do things, the way that we do things. It's not just a matter of doing good stuff, but what's also probably of more importance is how we do it and why we do it, with what motivation, with what heart posture. I'm gonna go to this is the Good Samaritan story, the parable that Jesus tells to the religious scholar who was trying to get out of being kind to people, right? I won't read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read a part of it. This is Luke chapter 10, verses 25 through 37. I won't read the whole thing. This is the NIV. It says this. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? Jesus replied, what is written in the law? He was asking him, what is written in the law? Since you're an expert in the law, Jesus says, how do you read it? Now, the religious scholar answers this. He says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Jesus responds, yes, you have answered correctly. Do this and you will live. So the scriptures that Jesus was referring to, or that the religious scholar was referring to, are actually in the Old Testament, in the old Mosaic law, the Torah, right? When people think about loving the Lord your God, they think that this was like a New Testament, a Jesus thing, that Jesus came up with love. No. Love was always in there. It was always in there. In fact, he's pulling from this, where I was going to go to. Jesus, or the religious scholar, is quoting one from Deuteronomy 6:5, where it says this, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. That's Deuteronomy 6:5. And Leviticus 19:18 says, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against any of your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. See, so loving God and loving people has always been a part of what it means to be a follower of God. That's always been the case, right? So we got that. Now, this is the part that that bugged me out, right? In a good way. So Jesus says I'm coming from John chapter 13, verses 33 and 34. This is the ESV. So this is Jesus speaking to his disciples. He says this: "Little children, yet a little while I am with you. You will seek me, and just as I said to the Jews, so now I also say to you, where I am going, you cannot come." Now listen up. "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also are to love one another." Now, maybe you're smarter than me and you catch where I'm going, but I've read that verse plenty of times and I never quite saw this, right? I never quite acknowledged that Jesus is saying, a new commandment I give you, to love your neighbor. But I'm like, wait a minute, it's not new, it's in the Old Testament. Like that's been something. But look, he says, a new commandment that I give you, that you love one another, not as yourself, but love one another just as I have loved you. That changes. I'll say it changes everything, but it does to a certain degree. Because listen, the old way. This is why it's new. The old way, we were to love our neighbor how we love ourselves, right? That was the old way. The old way left us as the standard. And y'all, I don't know if y'all know this, but not everyone loves himself well. Just FYI, not everyone loves themselves well. But even if you do, the way that you love yourself is imperfect. This is what Jesus says. No. Don't love your neighbor as you love yourself, but love your neighbor like I love you. See, that sets the standard up here, way beyond what we are capable of doing in and of ourselves. Jesus is saying, don't love them in the way that you think. Love them how I do. That gives us a clear model, a clear gauge by which to measure our love. And that's kind of what I'm leading to, right? So yes, justice is a part of the Christian charge, is a part of the charge of the Jesus follower, right? But that is not in forsaking the loving of our neighbor. Love and justice go hand in hand. You can't have justice without love, because you know what happens when you have justice without love? You get revenge. And revenge ain't what we're called to. Vengeance is the Lord's, as the scriptures put in. That escapes me right now. But that ain't our bag. However, justice is. Justice is. So I can hear someone saying, what does it look like to love your neighbor? Well, first of all, let me just say who your neighbor is. And this is where, if you go back and read the Good Samaritan, Jesus essentially reveals that your neighbor is anyone in need. Your neighbor is the person to your left and to your right. That's your neighbor. That is your neighbor. And not for nothing, your neighbor, more times than not, don't look like you. Your neighbor, more times than not, don't have the same cultural background as you. Your neighbor, more times than not, don't vote like you, don't pray like you, ain't into the same things as you, definitely don't look like you, if I didn't say that before. But that's the person that God, that Christ, that Jesus is telling his followers to love. To love. Listen, man, there is no thing worth doing in this world or in the next that benefits from doing it apart from love. Let me say that again. There's nothing in this world worth doing that benefits apart from love. You must, and I feel very confident saying must. You must be motivated by love. Hate is a strong motivator. Hate can move you. Hate has caused war. Hate is a strong motivator, but hate is unsustaining. Hate eats itself up. You feel me? But love is renewing, and love lasts a whole heck of a lot longer. There's this quote by this guy. His name is G.K. Chesterton. G.K. Chesterton. He says that, and I use it from time to time. He says, the true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but because he loves what's behind him. Y'all, let me say it again. The true soldier fights not because he hates what's in front of him, but because he loves what's behind him. Y'all, the reason why, I'll speak for myself, the reason why I pursue justice, and I try to, and I don't hit this all the time, as you can see, I'm flawed, but the reason why I pursue justice is because I love my daughter. The reason why I pursue justice is because I love my wife. The reason why I pursue justice is because I love y'all. I love life. I love humanity. That's what moves me. I love black people. I love people in the body of Christ. I love those people who are outside of the body of Christ. And my prayer is that I learn how to love everyone more and better. Right? But that's what moves me, and that's what should move you. Because if you are pursuing this justice, and rightfully so, whether it be, Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, or whatever it is, check your heart. Make sure what's moving you is not hate for the people who don't agree with you. Because I know it's so easy to hate. To be honest with you, if I wasn't a Christian, if I wasn't a Jesus follower and trying to pursue Jesus, it would be so easy to hate people. In fact, bump that. It's easy to hate people right now. It's easy. But you know what checks me every single time? How dare I hate someone for being hate someone or be unforgiving towards someone given all that Christ has forgiven me of? How dare I hate someone even if they are trifling and ratchet towards me, given all the times that I've been trifling and ratchet toward God? That checks me every time. Every time. I feel like a hypocrite if I'm doing that. I feel like it's like, Warner, how dare you hate someone else because they don't agree with you, or even, and I'll just be straight up, or even if what they believe directly impacts my well-being. Even still, how dare you hate them, given what God has forgiven you of and is still forgiving you of? I feel like a hypocrite. So the obvious question is, and I'm gonna wrap up, what does loving your neighbor look like? Because that can be sort of abstract. What does loving your neighbor look like? Well, y'all, I'm gonna be honest, probably looks like different things, and given the context or the circumstance, situation. But I will say this. In Genesis, God says that He created man and women, humanity, in His image, so that every human being is made in the image of God. Whether they are Democrats, Republicans, white, black, cops, criminals, babies, whatever, we are all made in the image of God. We may do ratchet stuff, Lord knows we do, but we are all made in the image of God. And because we bear God's image, we are worthy of dignity, all of us. We are worthy of value. We are worthy of love, all of us. Not because we are especially lovely, not because we deserve it, because we don't. But that is what being made in the image of God affords us automatically, inherently. Listen, Black Lives Matter, not because Black lives are better or anything like that. Black Lives Matter because God made Black lives. That's why Black Lives Matter. Not because of anything other than that. Black Lives Matter because God specifically made Black lives. But you know what? God also made white lives, Asian lives, Hispanic lives, Korean, whatever. They are all image bearers, and all are worthy. Even if they don't believe it of themselves, all are worthy of dignity, all are valued, are worthy of respect, and worthy of love. Now, I can respect someone and love someone and be fervently against what they stand for. That is the truth, and that right there is what I think is lacking. It's either this or this. No, 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 no. It's you can love someone. I mean, listen. All we got to do is look at how God treats us. You think God approves of everything that we do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But He loves us. He loves us. And I know I can hear people saying, "Yeah, well, I ain't God. Well, I ain't God." And you're right. You're right. We're not God. I'm not God. Thank God I'm not God. But check it, man. If you are a Jesus follower, if you are a Christian, which is what a Jesus follower is, then this is a part of following Jesus. This is the Christian difference. This is what we're called to. We're called to justice, but we're also called to love our neighbor. And what separates how we do it is the fact that, yes, we can be firmly against the policies, the practices, and the principles of someone and still respect their God-given image, that they are made in the image of God. And that's what I want to share. I want to share that, while we're pursuing justice, let's not get distracted by the rubber dummies. Let's not, get so, tunnel vision that we forget what Jesus says, and He says later on in John, He says that they will know us not by how much justice we pursue, although it's good, not by how much we go to church or give tithes, they will know us by our love. That's how they will know that we follow the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right, so pursue justice, but love your neighbor, y'all. All right, peace up.